Chapter 9. Existentialism in Practice. 9.1 Existential Therapy. Existential therapy is a form of psychotherapy that draws upon the principles of existential philosophy. The main focus of this therapeutic approach is to address the inherent conflicts and concerns that arise simply through the experience of being alive, such as the inevitability of death, the quest for meaning, the burden of freedom and responsibility, and the feeling of isolation. Unlike many other forms of therapy that concentrate on alleviating symptoms, existential therapy delves into a person's fundamental motivations, placing emphasis on self-awareness and personal values. The therapeutic process is often exploratory, encouraging individuals to examine their life situations from a philosophical standpoint with the aim to foster a deeper understanding of their existence. Existential therapy posits that psychological distress is often a consequence of a person's confrontation with the givens of existence, referred to by some existential therapists as ultimate concerns. These include the reality of death, the freedom to make life choices, our ultimate isolation, and the search for meaning. It argues that a lack of awareness or acknowledgement of these concerns can contribute to psychological disturbances. Consequently, existential therapy aims to help bring these issues to the forefront of the client's consciousness, enabling them to consider these existential themes openly and to understand how these issues influence their daily life and choices. The therapeutic relationship in existential therapy is profoundly significant. Therapists who practice this modality strive to create an authentic, supportive relationship with their clients. Essential components of this relationship include empathy, honesty, and respect for the client's autonomy. This therapeutic alliance is not about leading the client to a predefined outcome, but rather it is a joint exploration. The therapist acts as a facilitator, guiding clients to explore their individual experiences and the meanings they assign to them. Existential therapists assist clients in recognizing the ways in which they might be limiting themselves through avoidance or denial concerning their fundamental existential challenges. For example, a client might be grappling with the tension between a need for certainty and the unpredictable nature of life. Here, the therapist will work with the client to confront this existential reality, potentially leading to personal growth. Instead of directing clients towards a specific solution, therapists encourage clients to find their own path to living authentically. A critical element of existential therapy is the concept of choice. It promotes the idea that individuals always have a choice, even in situations that appear to have restricted options. This perspective empowers clients, encouraging them to take ownership of their decisions and the subsequent consequences. Therapists will often explore with clients the process through which they make choices and the values and beliefs that influence these choices. A significant aim is to help clients become more intentional and deliberate in their decision-making. In confronting the limitations of existence and the inevitability of death, existential therapy can lead to potent discussions about the meaning and value of life. Within the therapeutic setting, clients are invited to consider what makes life worth living for them personally. This exploration can engender a shift in perspective, allowing clients to establish priorities and engage with life in a more meaningful and fulfilling way. The focus is not on chasing a universal meaning of life, but rather on discovering or creating one's own personal sense of meaning. The notion of freedom within existential therapy also encompasses responsibility. Clients learn to see how they are not just free to choose, but also how they are responsible for their choices. Acknowledging this responsibility can be challenging, yet it is liberating, as it fosters autonomy and self-efficacy. The therapist helps clients to understand this relationship between freedom and responsibility, often leading them to take greater control of their lives and to act in a manner that is congruent with their genuine self. Isolation is another central theme addressed in existential therapy. This is not just the physical state of being alone, but the existential realization that one is ultimately alone in their experience and existence. Therapists help clients to confront this reality, leading to discussions about interconnectedness, relationships, and the ways in which sincere connections with others can alleviate feelings of existential isolation. The development of personal authenticity is another key goal in existential therapy. This refers to the degree in which individuals live in accordance with their own self-chosen values and beliefs, rather than conforming to external pressures or social constructs. Existential therapists facilitate clients' exploration of what feels truly representative of themselves. Through this process, clients can strip away layers of societal expectation and self-deception to reveal a more authentic way of being. Existential therapy is a dynamic and empowering form of psychotherapy that has a broad application. It addresses deep-seated philosophical questions that relate to the human condition and provides a framework for individuals to explore their existence. Through this exploration, clients are encouraged to live more authentically, to embrace their freedom and responsibility, and to find personal meaning in their lives. While facing life's ultimate concerns can be daunting, existential therapy provides a compassionate and philosophical lens through which individuals can embark on a transformative journey of self-discovery. 9.2. The practice of existential living. The practice of existential living is a deeply personal endeavor centered on the individual's confrontation with the fundamental aspects of the human condition, such as freedom, choice, responsibility, and the search for meaning. Existential thought suggests that individuals define their own existence through their choices and actions. Consequently, existential living requires constant reflection on one's values, intentions, and the implications of one's actions, embodying a form of active engagement with life rather than passivity. This practice does not follow a universal blueprint, as it emphasizes the unique journey each person must undertake to live authentically. A critical aspect of existential living is the understanding and acceptance of freedom. This freedom is not only a liberation from externally imposed constraints, but also an acknowledgement of the freedom to choose one's own path, which comes with the weight of responsibility. Every choice made is a reflection of the individual's values and impacts their authentic existence. Thus, existential living involves a perpetual state of awareness about the multitude of choices available at any given moment, and the courage to make decisions that are coherent with one's own sense of self, even in the face of uncertainty or adversity. Living existentially also necessitates an embrace of uncertainty. Unlike many systems of thought which seek to provide clear-cut answers to life's questions, existentialism accepts ambiguity as inherent to the human experience. It is the individual's task to navigate through this ambiguity, make choices, and find or create personal meaning without relying on absolutes. Recognizing that there are no predetermined paths to follow can be both liberating and daunting. It means that individuals must chart their own course and remain flexible, adapting to life's changing circumstances while staying true to their own principles and beliefs. Authenticity is another cornerstone of the existential approach to living. It requires individuals to live in accordance with their true selves, rather than conforming to societal expectations or external pressures. This authenticity is hard-won, demanding constant self-evaluation and sometimes a deliberate distancing from the crowd. To live authentically means to act in harmony with one's own convictions and understanding of the world, even when this leads to isolation or conflict. It involves a commitment to self-actualization and self-determination, guided by an inner compass rather than by external dictates. The concept of responsibility is inextricably linked to freedom in existential thought. With the acknowledgement that one has the power to choose, comes the realization that one is responsible for the consequences of those choices. This responsibility is not only to oneself, but extends to others and to society as a whole. Existential living, therefore, involves a deep sense of ethical consideration, where the implications of one's choices are weighed seriously, and individuals hold themselves accountable for their actions and their impact on the world. The ever-present awareness of death is another significant element in the practice of existential living. Rather than fleeing from the reality of mortality, existentialism encourages individuals to confront it directly. This confrontation can engender a more acute appreciation of life, and can act as a motivator to live more fully, knowing that existence is finite. The acceptance of death can also impact the choices one makes, as it underscores the importance of living authentically and making each moment count rather than deferring one's aspirations and potentials to a future that is not guaranteed. Existential living includes the deliberate cultivation of personal relationships and community, albeit without surrendering individuality. While existentialism stresses personal freedom and authenticity, it also recognizes the fundamental human need for connection and interaction. Building meaningful relationships and engaging with a community can provide a support network that aids in the navigation of existential concerns. These connections are most rewarding when they are formed on the basis of genuine understanding and respect for each individual's existential journey. An existential approach to living also encourages the embracing of creativity as a means of self-expression and realization. By creating works of art, engaging in writing, or exploring other creative endeavors, individuals can not only bring forth their subjective experiences into the world, but can also better understand themselves. Creativity acts as a pathway through which the inner life can be explored and shared, allowing for a unique expression that can also serve as a legacy, a testament to one's existence. The concept of suffering and how one deals with it is another important aspect of existential living. Rather than viewing suffering as something to be avoided at all costs, existential thought suggests that suffering can be an integral part of personal growth and understanding. It is through enduring and overcoming suffering that individuals may gain deeper insights into the human condition and their own strengths and limitations. This perspective does not glorify suffering, but acknowledges it as a potential catalyst for transformation. Finally, existential living entails an ongoing pursuit of self-awareness and personal development. This involves a commitment to education, not just in the formal sense, but also in the broader context of learning from life experiences. Engaging in reflective practices such as journaling, meditation, or therapy can facilitate the process of self-discovery and growth. Personal development in existentialism is not so much about reaching a final goal or endpoint, but is rather a continuous process of becoming, underscored by an ever-deepening understanding of oneself and one's place in the world. The practice of existential living is a rich and complex endeavor that requires individuals to navigate freedom, make conscious choices, accept uncertainty, seek authenticity, take responsibility, grapple with the reality of death, foster relationships, express creativity, confront suffering, and continually pursue self-awareness and development. It is a way of life that prioritizes personal meaning-making and active engagement with one's existence, always in the knowledge that no definitive answers are given, and that one's essence is ultimately defined through lived experience. 9.3 Overcoming Nihilism. Nihilism, in the context of existentialism, is often understood as the belief in the absence of meaning or value in life. An essential condition of human existence, according to existentialist thought, is the confrontation with this nihilistic perspective. The existential focus on individual experience, choice, and responsibility requires addressing the impact of nihilism, making the task of overcoming it a necessary endeavor for those seeking to implement existentialist ideas in their lives. This section will explore the methods and insights through which existentialism addresses and seeks to overcome nihilism. The starting point for overcoming nihilism within existentialism is the acknowledgement of its presence. It is common for individuals to phase through states of conscious or unconscious nihilism. Conscious nihilism is a realized perspective that sees life as devoid of intrinsic meaning, whereas unconscious nihilism is a latent lack of engagement with the potential of life's experiences. Existentialism prompts individuals to recognize these states. By acknowledging the possibility of nihilism, existentialism allows for a conscious relationship with meaning in life, facilitating a space where individuals can begin to address and counteract nihilistic tendencies. After recognizing nihilism, existentialist practice requires one to confront it directly. This involves a process of introspection where one questions the origins of their nihilistic beliefs. Frequently, these beliefs stem from disillusionment with societal norms, disappointment in religious or moral frameworks, or a feeling of disconnection from others. During the introspective process, existentialists suggest that individuals examine their beliefs critically, discarding those that are inherited uncritically, and instead, forging a personal set of values and meanings. In Overcoming Nihilism, existentialism posits the need to embrace freedom and responsibility. Unlike nihilism, which can lead to a feeling of helplessness or fatalism, existentialism encourages individuals to seize their freedom to create purpose. This can be an overwhelming task. To make decisions without relying on a predetermined framework of meaning requires courage. However, in exercising this freedom, existentialists argue that individuals give their lives direction and significance, constructing a narrative that is their own rather than one inscribed by external forces. Another aspect of overcoming nihilism lies in the existential concept of engagement. Existentialists propose that deep involvement with activities, relationships, or pursuits can imbue life with meaning. Engagement requires a wholehearted participation in life's endeavors, an investment of oneself in the world. By engaging fully, individuals counteract the detachment inherent in nihilistic worldviews. As such, authentic engagement becomes a form of resistance to the encroachment of nihilistic thought and a proactive step towards existential fulfillment. The role of creativity and self-expression is also significant in the existential fight against nihilism. Creative acts, be they artistic, intellectual, or mundane daily choices, assert the individual's presence and significance in the world. The process of creating can be seen as a declaration of one's values and an affirmation of one's influence on their environment. By asserting that life can be crafted into something unique and personal, existentialists underline the antithesis of nihilistic negation. Solidarity with others is another method to overcome nihilism. Existentialism does not consider humans as isolated beings, but as beings in the world, constantly interacting with others. Engaging in meaningful relationships and working towards shared goals can provide a sense of connection and belonging. Through collaborative endeavors, individuals may find collective ways to affirm life's value, thus providing a social dimension to the existentialist approach to overcoming nihilism. Existentialism also encourages the acceptance of absurdity as a step towards negating nihilism. The recognition that life can be unpredictable and devoid of any ultimate rationale should not lead to despair, existentialists argue, but rather to the adoption of a defiant attitude that asserts meaning amid the chaos. Embracing the absurd entails living in spite of it, creating a personal ethos that stands resilient against the void. Furthermore, existentialism advocates for authenticity as a weapon against nihilism. To be authentic, in existential terms, means articulating one's own values and living in accordance with them, rather than adopting external standards or hiding behind roles and expectations. Authenticity involves a continuous process of self-discovery and personal growth. In being true to oneself, existentialism holds that individuals set up a bulwark against the encroaching sense of meaninglessness. Physical and sensory experiences, too, are noted by existentialists as a means to grounding oneself in reality and countering nihilistic abstraction. The here and now focus, encouraged by many existentialist thinkers, urges individuals to fully inhabit their bodily experiences. This mindfulness of the sensual aspects of life serves as a counterbalance to the tendency of nihilism to dismiss the significance of the material world. The existential approach to overcoming nihilism is multifaceted. It involves acknowledging the reality of nihilistic perspectives, confronting and questioning those views, seizing personal freedom and responsibility, engaging with the world, fostering creativity, building solidarity, accepting absurdity, striving for authenticity, and remaining present to physical experiences. By employing these practices, existentialism affirms that life can be rich with personal significance, even in the absence of an objective or universal meaning. 9.4 Daily Existentialist Practices. The application of existentialist principles in daily life involves a conscious effort to acknowledge one's freedom and the responsibility that accompanies it. Every individual, according to existentialist thought, has the agency to choose their path and create their essence. By recognizing the weight of each decision, a person can begin to practice existentialism on a daily basis. This doesn't imply constant heavy-handedness, but rather a mindfulness of the power one holds over their own life trajectory. By embracing the lack of an inherent purpose, daily existentialist practices encourage individuals to find and define their own meaning and values. One fundamental practice is to start the day with self-reflection. This may involve contemplating one's goals, motivations, and the choices that need to be made that day. This activity serves to center an individual in their existential freedom and prepare them for making authentic decisions. Through reflection, a person becomes aware of their potential for crafting the narrative of their life each day. This reflective practice also fosters an understanding of the consequences of one's actions, emphasizing personal responsibility for those choices. Another daily practice core to existentialism is to actively seek out situations that challenge one's perspectives. This involves stepping outside of one's comfort zone to experience the unexpected and the uncomfortable. The intent behind this is to engage fully with the unpredictability of existence. Consciously facing unknown or challenging situations can lead to personal growth, as these experiences allow individuals to redefine limits and understandings of the world, which is quite malleable from an existentialist viewpoint. Being authentic in one's interactions is a daily existentialist endeavor. This means expressing one's true thoughts and feelings rather than conforming to social expectations or roles. This authenticity requires honesty with oneself and others, avoiding self-deception and the lies that can often simplify social transactions. The goal here is to live in a manner that aligns with one's chosen values and identity, rather than a preordained script that society might endorse. Practicing radical acceptance is also a daily existentialist commitment. Life brings inevitable sufferings and setbacks, which existentialism does not look to hide from or dismiss. Rather, the philosophy encourages the acknowledgement and embrace of these hardships as part of the human experience. It's through acceptance that one can avoid falling into despair or denial, both of which can impede the initiative to take charge of one's existence and make meaningful choices. An existentialist will often dedicate time to contemplate the temporal nature of existence. The awareness of mortality can act as a motivator to live more fully and with purpose. While some might find this morbid, for existentialists it's a grounding reminder that the time to make choices and seek meaning is finite. Therefore, decisions and actions ought to be deliberate and considered, bearing in mind the inexorable passage of time. Maintaining independence of thought is another key practice within existentialism. This requires critical thinking and skepticism when confronted with commonly held beliefs or societal norms. The goal is to avoid blindly following dogmas by ensuring that one's beliefs are the result of personal evaluation and conviction. Independence of thought also encompasses the drive to resist external forces that attempt to dictate personal purpose or value. Participating in creative endeavors illustrates an additional daily existentialist practice. Creativity is a manifestation of freedom and individuality, serving as a counter to the sometimes absurd or banal aspects of existence. Whether through art, writing, or any form of self-expression, the act of creation is a potent means for existentialists to assert their existence and share their perspective of the world. Forming and nurturing genuine relationships can be seen as a daily existentialist endeavor. Authentic connections with others can enrich one's experience of life and provide a more nuanced understanding of the self and others. This involves engaging deeply with people rather than superficially, fostering empathy and genuine care. Existentialism values relationships that encourage both parties to grow and genuinely express their freedom and essence. Lastly, practicing gratitude is a habit that ties neatly into existentialist thought. Whilst the philosophy acknowledges the potential absurdity and pain of life, it also recognizes the beauty and opportunities that life presents. Gratitude focuses the mind on the positive aspects of existence, prompting an individual to not take the present moment for granted. This does not negate the struggles of life, but complements them by creating a balance, illuminating the multifaceted experience of existence. By integrating these practices into one's daily routine, an individual not only lives an existentialist life philosophically but also tangibly. These practices empower individuals to continuously create themselves and deal authentically with the world. It is important to note that practicing existentialism does not lead to a singular outlook or lifestyle. Instead, it results in a myriad of authentic ways of being, as unique as each individual who applies it. Existentialist practices enable a person to live actively and thoughtfully, confronting the inherent challenges of existence while also embracing the personal freedom to assign meaning and value to their lives. 9.5 The role of mindfulness. Existentialism asserts the importance of individual freedom and choice, yet making choices can often lead to a sense of anxiety and confusion. Mindfulness offers a means by which individuals can navigate these waters of existential choice with greater ease and clarity. At its core, mindfulness is an attentive awareness to the present moment without judgment. It is a practice rooted in Eastern philosophical traditions, but has found a meaningful place within the existential framework through its capacity to enhance self-awareness. Mindfulness as a practice involves various techniques, most of which center around meditation. These exercises are aimed at bringing the individual's attention to the experience of the present, acknowledging thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise, but without becoming entangled in them. For existentialists, this is paramount. It provides a way to step back and witness the nature of one's existence and the sensations that accompany it, without succumbing to automatic patterns of thought that can obscure authentic being. The existentialists emphasize living authentically, which entails a deep understanding of one's personal values, beliefs, and desires. Mindfulness aids in uncovering these authentic aspects by reducing the noise of societal expectations and preconceived notions. As one practices mindfulness, there's a stripping away of external influences, granting space for the individual's true nature to surface. This awareness of the self, in the present moment, aligns with existential ideas of personal authenticity. The anxiety that existential philosophers talk about arises from the knowledge of our freedom and the weight of our choices, along with the recognition of life's inherent meaninglessness. Mindfulness doesn't solve existential anxiety, but provides a tool with which to confront and explore it. Regular mindfulness practice can offer individuals a stronger foundation upon which to tolerate and examine the discomfort associated with these existential concerns, rather than avoiding or being paralyzed by them. Moreover, mindfulness encourages taking responsibility for one's state of mind. Within existentialism, there is a call to take responsibility not only for our actions, but also for our attitudes and feelings. Mindfulness trains individuals to recognize their capacity to respond rather than react to their circumstances, aligning with the existential imperative to shape one's own essence through conscious choice and will. In the face of existential despair, mindfulness provides a mechanism for resilience. It encourages the exercise of observing without attachment, enhancing one's ability to face suffering and apprehension with equanimity. This equanimity is not a resigned acceptance, but a dynamic state of engagement with reality as it unfolds, always with the option to make reasoned and meaningful choices in response to it. Additionally, existentialism posits the individual as the creator of meaning in an indifferent universe. Here, mindfulness can be particularly useful, as it enhances one's attention to the nuances of life's experiences, revealing the subjective meanings that can be created and cherished. It allows for a presence of mind that is fertile ground for the seeds of personal significance to be sown and nurtured. Through mindfulness, one can better discern the influence of social and cultural constructs on our perception of ourselves and the world. This discernment is in line with existentialist thought, which urges an awareness of the structures that may constrain authentic existence. By bringing this awareness into focus, mindfulness can embolden the individual to question and possibly transcend these constructs. Existential therapy, which draws heavily on the principles of existential philosophy, also integrates mindfulness as a technique for clients to gain insight into their lives. It helps detach from unhelpful narratives and to encounter their existence in a fresh, immediate way. Through mindfulness, the discussion of existential themes in therapy can move beyond the theoretical and into experiential learning and understanding. Lastly, mindfulness meditation is a skill that, like any other, requires continual practice. It is a journey rather than a destination, reflecting the existential commitment to an ongoing process of becoming. As individuals practice mindfulness, they cultivate a habit of presence that can deeply inform their existential exploration, making the lived experience a richer, more textured endeavor that aptly reflects the existential determination to forge a life of personal authenticity and meaning. The role of mindfulness in existentialist practice is multifaceted. It empowers individuals to experience their freedom more fully, to take responsibility for their inner world, and to create personal meaning even in the face of life's inherent meaninglessness. With its emphasis on present awareness, non-judgment, and the cultivation of a clear state of being, mindfulness is an invaluable asset in the endeavor to live in accordance with existentialist ideals. 9.6. Existential decision-making. Making decisions is fundamental to our existence. Every day, we are presented with a multitude of choices, from the mundane to life-changing, that shape the trajectory of our lives. Existentialism, as a philosophy grounded in individual freedom and responsibility, provides a unique framework for decision-making. This approach emphasizes authenticity, the importance of individual values, and the inevitability of uncertainty. The existential perspective mandates that we confront the reality that we are the authors of our own lives, and as such, we must choose carefully yet boldly. In the context of existentialism, decision-making is not a mechanical process, but an existential one which is interconnected with our essence. By acknowledging the absence of predetermined criteria for making decisions, existential thought places the onus on the individual. Each person must consider the potential of his or her own values, interests, and goals to guide their decisions. This realization furthers the concept of existence precedes essence, suggesting that we are not born with an essence to fulfill, but rather we define our essence through the decisions we make and the actions we take. The principle of radical freedom, introduced by existential philosophers, asserts that we are free to make our choices and, consequently, we are responsible for the outcomes of those choices. The weight of this responsibility can be overwhelming, as it implies that we cannot excuse ourselves by societal norms or divine will. The existential decision-making process involves the acknowledgement of our responsibility for not only the success, but also the potential failure of our choices. This can lead to what existentialist philosopher Søren Kierkegaard refers to as the dizziness of freedom, a recognition of the breadth of our options and the paralyzing nature of endless possibility. To manage this anxiety, individuals must act authentically. That is, their decisions should be made in accordance with their true selves and personal convictions. Authenticity demands that we resist external pressures and societal expectations that may conflict with our individual beliefs. This requires a high level of self-awareness and introspection to truly understand one's values and desires. Authentic decision-making aligns actions with personal values and, regardless of outcome, ensures a sense of integrity and self-respect. Furthermore, the concept of bad faith, coined by Jean-Paul Sartre, highlights the tendency to shirk our freedom by conforming to roles that society sets for us, thereby escaping the anxiety associated with making difficult decisions. However, falling into bad faith is to live inauthentically, and it forfeits the opportunity to craft a meaningful existence true to oneself. Escaping this trap means making choices that align with an authentic sense of self, even in the face of uncertainty, and without assurances of external approval or success. Existentialism acknowledges that despite our freedom, we are still limited by certain conditions of reality, such as our historical context, social circumstances, and personal capabilities. These are not seen as excuses, but rather as the playing field upon which we must enact our freedom. While we do not control these conditions, we do control our responses to them. The degree to which we can surmount these limitations correlates directly with our capacity to enact our freedom and make decisions aligned with our aspirations. In addition, the concept of the absurd, as discussed by Albert Camus, relates to the conflict between our desire for order and meaning in a universe that is indifferent to human concerns. An existential decision-making process acknowledges the absurd and confronts it without despair. This confrontation is a positive act of rebellion against the seeming meaninglessness of the universe, a determined assertion of personal meaning through choice. Choosing in the face of the absurd is to affirm life, to engage with it fully, and to assert one's essence actively. Throughout the decision-making process, existentialism encourages the embrace of uncertainty. It highlights the impossibility of having total certainty or complete information when making decisions. This lack of certainty is not a weakness but a condition of our existence that we must accept and within which we must operate. The focus, therefore, is on making the best possible decision with the understanding and information we have at present, with the acceptance that outcomes are never fully within our control. Consequently, existential decision-making involves deliberation that is reflective rather than calculative. A reflective approach requires one to evaluate how a particular decision aligns with personal values and long-term aspirations. Different from a calculative approach that might solely focus on immediate benefits or consequences, reflection demands a considered understanding of how a decision fits within the narrative of one's life, how it contributes to the ongoing process of self-creation, and how it resonates with one's core principles. Finally, existentialism propounds that decision-making is an ongoing process, an integral part of the continuous project that is the self. Decisions made today can be re-evaluated and modified in the context of new experiences and insights. Therefore, existential decision-making is never absolute, but rather a fluid, evolving dialogue with oneself. It values the process of becoming over the state of being, suggesting that through our decisions we engage in a perpetual act of self-construction and actualization. This perspective transforms decision-making from a burdensome task into a dynamic opportunity for personal growth and authenticity. Existential decision-making is characterized by a recognition of the boundless freedom and the concomitant responsibility that we each bear in sculpting our lives. It is a deeply personal process that necessitates authenticity, a confrontation with uncertainty, and an acceptance of the limitations and absurdities inherent to human life. This approach neither prescribes specific choices nor guarantees success. Instead, it affirms the significance of choosing itself. Through our decisions, we create our essence and compose the narrative of our own existence. 9.7 The concept of play. The concept of play is an important, though often overlooked aspect of existential philosophy. At first glance, play might seem to contrast with the serious and sometimes somber tone that existentialism is known for. However, upon closer examination, play can be seen as a vital expression of freedom, one of the core ideas in existentialist thought. In this context, play refers to actions conducted for their own sake, not merely as a means to an end, but as a form of engagement with the present moment and the world at large. This section explores how play fits into existential philosophy and its implications for individuals seeking to understand and live within an existential framework. In existentialism, individuals are free to make choices, and these choices define their essence. Play exemplifies the type of choice that is not bound by necessity or utility, but is an expression of pure freedom. Through play, individuals experience the ability to choose without the constraints of purpose or the burden of existential weight. The act of playing allows people to explore different facets of their being, trying on roles without commitment to a permanent identity. Play, therefore, can be a manifestation of freedom and a celebration of potentiality, a space where the self is both discovered and invented. The significance of play within existential thought also lies in its capacity to distance individuals from the concept of a fixed essence. While existentialists argue that essence follows existence, it is through play that individuals can resist any definitive categorization of their essence. Play then becomes a means by which people challenge the idea that their identities are formed by static traits or past actions. Instead, play allows individuals to experiment, to be fluid, and to transcend the limitations often imposed by society or by their own habitual self-perceptions. Moreover, play is intimately connected with the concept of authenticity, which is central to existentialism. Authenticity involves living in a manner congruent with one's true self, and play provides a context in which the true self can emerge. By engaging in play, people can explore aspects of their personality that are unconstrained by everyday responsibilities or social roles. This exploration allows for a more genuine self-relationship, as well as a more profound understanding of one's place in the world. In play, individuals are not performing for others or adhering to preordained scripts. They are creating, interacting, and expressing themselves in a way that may be more aligned with their authentic desires. This leads us to the idea of play as resistance. Existentialists view society as imposing structures that can alienate individuals from their own experiences of being. The systems of work, societal roles, and cultural expectations often demand conformity, limiting personal expression and spontaneity. Play can act as a form of resistance against these oppressive structures, enabling individuals to reclaim their agency and individuality. In the space of play, the dictates of society can be suspended, granting existential freedom a place to thrive. As such, engagement in play is not just a leisurely activity, but an act of asserting one's existence against the potential dehumanization of modern life. One could also look at play from the perspective of creating meaning. An existentialist postulate is that life does not have inherent meaning. It is the individual's responsibility to confer meaning upon their existence. Within the sandbox of play, the process of creating meaning becomes palpable. Rules are self-imposed or collaboratively constructed, outcomes are negotiated, and roles are performed with an awareness that they can be altered or abandoned. Participants in play actively create a microcosm with its own objectives and values, thus practicing the broader existential mandate to imbue their larger lives with personal significance. The implications of play extend into the realm of interpersonal relationships as well. Through play, individuals engage with others in a mode that is distinct from their everyday interactions. Relationships formed or expressed in play can be more egalitarian, as conventional status and power dynamics can be temporarily left behind. The collaborative nature of play often requires individuals to communicate, cooperate, and compromise, fostering a sense of community and shared humanity. Within this temporary space, players may come to recognize the common freedom and existential challenges they share with others, strengthening a sense of solidarity in the face of life's absurdity. 9.8 Lifestyle Changes and Existential Choices. Understanding existentialism involves recognizing the core concept that human beings are free and responsible for their own development through acts of the will. When applying existentialist philosophy to everyday living, it becomes evident that this freedom implies frequent decision-making, often leading to significant lifestyle changes. An existential choice entails a deliberate action based on personal judgment, unbound by external dictates or societal norms. These choices are not trivial, they reflect one's essential beliefs and individual essence. To make existential choices requires courage, as it involves confronting the anxiety of uncertainty and the potential for failure. Existential decisions also confront the individual with their responsibility, as each choice shapes one's character and life path. For example, deciding to shift careers after years in a stable job because it aligns better with one's values exemplifies an existential choice. Everyday life presents multiple opportunities for existential choices, from mundane selections to transformative decisions. Simplifying one's lifestyle to reduce environmental impact or choosing to volunteer in aid of a cause reflects the adoption of existential principles. These lifestyle changes demonstrate an awareness of personal agency and a connectedness with broader existential questions about purpose and value. The existential choice to prioritize personal growth over material gain may lead to a minimalist lifestyle. This approach often involves reassessing one's relationship with possessions and consumer culture. Rejecting excessive consumerism could be an expression of freedom and authenticity, principles highly valued in existential thought. This form of lifestyle change requires one to consistently evaluate what is necessary and what serves to genuinely enrich life. An existentialist approach can also influence interpersonal relationships. Choosing to engage in honest and meaningful connections rather than superficial interactions may result in a smaller but more profound social circle. Establishing relationships based on authenticity and openness reflects the existential commitment to living truthfully. The quality of such relationships, therefore, becomes more important than the quantity. In the realm of work, existential choices may lead to seeking vocations that resonate with personal convictions rather than those promising prestige or wealth. These decisions are complex, as they often involve significant risk and sacrifice. However, they can also be deeply rewarding, as work becomes an authentic expression of who one is. This alignment of personal values with professional activity contributes to a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Health and well-being can also be profoundly influenced by existential choices. Recognizing that one is responsible for one's body and mind may lead to lifestyle changes aimed at improving physical and mental health. Deciding to practice regular physical activity, adopt a healthier diet, or engage in mindfulness practices are all examples of taking responsibility for one's health from an existential perspective. Education and lifelong learning can be understood as existential choices too. Pursuing knowledge and personal development outside institutional settings is a choice to take ownership of one's intellect and curiosity. Engaging with literature, philosophy, and the arts as a means of self-exploration aligns with the existential ideal of continuously questioning and discovering oneself. Existentialism's emphasis on personal freedom and choice also implies an acceptance of the consequences that come with these decisions. Lifestyle changes inspired by existentialist thought must include a willingness to endure the outcomes, whether favorable or unforgotten. This sense of accountability is crucial, as it solidifies the authenticity of one's choices and the commitment to living according to them. Existential choices can fundamentally alter life's course, often leading to profound lifestyle changes. Such decisions require introspection, bravery, and resilience, but ultimately enable individuals to live authentically and with intention. By aligning everyday actions with deeply held beliefs, existentialism in practice allows for a life that is not merely lived, but continually chosen and crafted by the individual. 9.9 The role of physical experience. Physical experience shapes our existence to an extent that is often underestimated. Existentialism posits that existence precedes essence, meaning that individuals first exist and then define themselves through actions and choices. Physical experiences, from the mere act of perceiving the world to engaging in strenuous activities, play a pivotal role in how we interpret our existence and create our essence. Every sensation and movement is not merely a biological or psychological occurrence, it is also an existential act through which we assert our being and confront our reality. Sensory experiences provide the raw material for our consciousness to interact with reality. Our five senses function as channels that mediate between external stimuli and internal processing. They are crucial for survival, learning, and pleasure. However, in the context of existentialism, our senses also confront us with the undeniable immediacy of living. From the feeling of the wind on our skin to the taste of food, these experiences remind us of life's fleeting nature and our direct engagement with the world. They force us to recognize our presence in the now and reveal the often overlooked significance of the present moment. Bodily movement and the kinesthetic sense are also rich sources of existential understanding. When we move, we express our freedom to change our position in space and to interact with reality in a tangible way. This liberty of movement is foundational to the concept of agency. It illustrates an important existential tenet, that individuals are not merely passive entities being acted upon by external forces, but are capable of initiating actions and, in turn, affecting the external world. Consequently, physical activity serves as both a metaphor and a mechanism through which we can exercise our free will. Pain and pleasure serve as poignant reminders of our existence. Pain, particularly, is an existential alarm system, indicating threats to our being and prompting us to respond. Pleasure, on the other hand, can be seen as a reward for behaviors that align with our needs and desires. However, within the existential framework, these sensations are more than mere biological feedback mechanisms. They are integral to our understanding of ourselves and our values. They often drive us to question the nature of our existence, the validity of our pursuits, and the structures that govern our lives. Endurance and discipline in physical pursuits not only strengthen the body, but can also fortify the spirit. For example, the commitment to mastering a skill or improving one's health requires a deliberate choice, persistent effort, and self-reflection. Thus, such endeavors can become existential projects. They showcase our capacity to transcend our current state and mold our future self. They emphasize our potential for self-creation, personal growth, and the assumption of responsibility for our own development. Illness and disability confront individuals with profound existential challenges. These conditions often force a re-evaluation of one's place in the world and a redefinition of what it means to live a meaningful life. Facing such adversity can bring about an acute awareness of our limitations and mortality. However, through this lens, existentialism provides a framework for resilience. Rather than merely succumbing to despair, individuals can choose to create new values and goals within the context of their altered physical circumstances. Aging is another physical process that elicits existential reflection. As we age, we inevitably observe the gradual changes in our abilities and confront the limits of our bodily existence. This realization compels us to consider the temporal nature of life and may prompt us to seek purpose and substance in our actions. Existentialism emphasizes the subjective nature of these experiences, suggesting that how we come to terms with aging is shaped by our personal choices and the meanings we ascribe to our experiences. Physical experience is also foundational to empathy and our ability to connect with others. Through such experiences, we can relate to the suffering, joy, or struggle of another person. This ability to share in the physical reality of others is essential for social and moral development. It contributes to the existential view that our lives are not isolated events, but are intertwined with the lives of others. Our physical interactions and shared experiences can foster a sense of community and solidarity. Artistic expression, be it through dance, sculpture, painting, or any form that involves physicality, becomes another avenue through which individuals explore and communicate existential themes. The act of creation is itself a celebration of existence and a manifestation of the individual's ability to influence reality. Moreover, it offers a tangible result that can outlive the creator, thereby confronting the existential concern with permanence and legacy. Art, as a physical experience, is a testament to the human capacity for transcendence. Lastly, physical experience is crucial to environmental awareness. It roots our existence within the larger ecological context and exposes us to the vast network of life. This heightened consciousness can lead to a deeper understanding of our role in the world and our responsibilities toward other living beings and the planet. Existentialism considers this awareness as part of the holistic view of human existence, where humans are not apart from nature, but a part of it, and thus have the ability to shape and be shaped by the environment. The role of physical experience in existential practice is multifaceted and profound. It encompasses sensations, movements, emotional responses to bodily conditions, the pursuit of physical goals, and the creation and appreciation of art. Collectively, these experiences are essential in our pursuits to define ourselves, relate to others, and find meaning in our existence. Existentialism, therefore, does not disregard the physical aspect of life, but rather incorporates it as a foundational element in the continuous process of self-definition and the authentic living of one's life. 9.10 Long-term existential projects. Long-term existential projects refer to the endeavors individuals undertake, which are aligned with their self-determined purpose and values in life. Such projects are often at the heart of existentialist thought, as they represent a direct application of personal freedom and responsibility. Unlike short-term goals or spontaneous activities, long-term projects demand sustained effort, planning, and reflection, embodying an individual's commitment to living authentically. Existentialism posits that individuals are responsible for creating their own essence through their actions and choices. Long-term projects are a manifestation of this creative process, often involving a profound engagement with one's passions and interests. These ventures may be tied to various aspects of life such as career, personal development, relationships, or social contributions. They draw meaning from the individual's unique perspective and are significant to the extent that they reflect genuine personal values rather than external expectations or societal norms. In pursuing long-term projects, existentialists stress the importance of authenticity, a concept that implies acting in accordance with one's true self. Authenticity in this context involves an honest acknowledgement of one's desires, strengths, and limitations. Such an undertaking can be challenging, as it requires ongoing self-reflection and the courage to make unconventional choices. It also necessitates a willingness to embrace uncertainty and to face the inevitable anxiety that accompanies the freedom of choice. Another central feature of long-term existential projects is personal growth. Through the process of working toward long-term aims, individuals are likely to encounter obstacles and setbacks. Overcoming these challenges can lead to a deeper understanding of oneself and the world. It requires resilience and an openness to change. Growth is facilitated by the awareness that the pursuit itself, rather than just the achievement of a goal, is valuable for personal development. The concept of project refers not simply to external activities, but also to internal transformation. Long-term existential projects often include an introspective component where individuals seek to improve or understand themselves. This can manifest in a commitment to practices such as meditation, lifelong learning, or therapy. The focus is on becoming rather than acquiring, on evolving one's perspective and character rather than solely achieving external milestones. The existential commitment to freedom is exemplified in the choice of long-term projects. This freedom, however, is accompanied by the burden of responsibility. Individuals must therefore own up to their projects and their outcomes, regardless of success or failure. This accountability is a mark of existential agency, the understanding that one is the primary author of their life narrative. It is the individual's responsibility to direct the course of their life and to assign value to their endeavors. Existentialists recognize that the social dimension of existence is inextricable from individual projects. Long-term endeavors often involve others, either as collaborators, supporters, or even as part of the project's focus. For instance, someone may commit to positively influencing their community or family over a span of years. In these instances, project pursuit leads to the blending of personal and collective meaning, emphasizing the role that others play in an individual's existential journey. Another aspect of existential projects is the confrontation with mortality. The recognition of death as an unavoidable reality heightens the significance of how one chooses to spend their time. This awareness leads individuals to prioritize long-term projects that they deem truly valuable and reflective of their identity. It also brings forth the urgency to engage with life fully and not postpone meaningful actions and decisions. While many philosophies address goal setting and personal development, what sets long-term existential projects apart is their foundation in individual freedom and the absence of intrinsic meaning in the universe. Existentialists believe that it is up to individuals to imbue their own lives with meaning. This generates a profound sense of responsibility to choose projects that are not only ambitious, but also deeply interconnected with the individual's virtues and conceptualization of a life worth living. Finally, it is important to note that long-term existential projects are not static. They are dynamic and evolve over time as individuals gain new insights and experiences. Flexibility and adaptability are key as one's understanding of oneself and the world changes. The projects may grow, shrink, transform, or even be abandoned in favor of new pursuits that more accurately reflect the individual's current state of existence. This ongoing process is central to the existential practice, as it embodies the continuous endeavor to live earnestly in a world that is constantly changing. Long-term existential projects are a vital application of existential philosophy to daily living. They reflect an individual's pursuit of meaningful, self-determined existence. Through the dedication to these projects, individuals demonstrate their freedom, face their responsibility, and create their essence. In a broader context, these projects contribute to personal growth, encourage authentic living, and ultimately shape the individual's contribution to the world.